Hi Kevin, here is your cosine law assignment and just a few corrections, but again it's the same kind of mistake each time, so it's just really one thing that you need to correct. You're starting off right and you're using the cosine law correctly, so all of this is right. It's the second step that's getting you into trouble, and that's happened on a couple of questions here. So I think it's just a problem with understanding, but it's the same problem. The problem is that when you're using the primary trig ratios, sine, cos, or tan, or SOHCAHTOA, it has to be a 90-degree angle. So that should say there, 90-degree angle. Those ratios only work whenever you have a right angle triangle, a 90-degree angle in your triangle. An oblique triangle, the word oblique that's used in the questions here and the content for this section, that signifies that you do not have a right angle triangle. That means a triangle other than a right angle triangle. So you can't use SOHCAHTOA to find any of the other angles or sides for your triangle here, okay? One of the rules of thumb that I use when I first mark things, rather than going through every calculation and making sure it's all correct, I always start with the triangle solution that you've given me. And one of the things that I look for is the smallest angle across from the smallest side and the largest angle across from the largest side, because that's a law of triangles. That always has to be true. So when I'm looking at your solution here, what I'm seeing is 46 degrees opposite 21 and 66 degrees opposite 20. So 46 is across from a larger side than 66, and that's breaking that rule. So that's when I know, when I'm marking somebody's work, that I've got to go and look for a mistake and see what happened. And that's a really good check when you're moving on. I know you're going to be moving on to grade 12 math shortly, and you'll be doing some more trigonometry and work with triangles and things. So always check when your final product, when your final triangle is all filled in, that rule is not broken, and that's a really good way to make sure that you've got the right answers there. Okay. So if we move down to number 2. You did the hard part right. You did the cosine law just great. And then we ran into trouble finding the second angle because you tried to use the tan ratio, which again is only good for a 90-degree triangle. We need the sine law here in order to find the other angle in this triangle. So you're going to use the sine law, I guess I didn't finish writing that there, and set up the ratios. Now that you've got one more side, now you've got all three sides in one angle, which means that you can make a pair of sides with 14 and 52 is one matching set, and then having to find the other angle across from here, let's say. That's how you make your ratio with sine law in this case, okay? So that can't be 52, and again, 14 can't be across from 52 if 18 is also across from 52, because if it's a bigger side, it should be across from a bigger angle. And the dead giveaway on this one for me was, here's 76, the biggest angle, and it ended up across from the smallest side. So something's definitely not right there, and that's how you know to go back and check your work. So question 3, again, you did the hard part, right? You did the cosine law, and I know this assignment is just on cosine law, but you were asked to solve the triangle, and so you can't use the cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. That only works for a right angle triangle. You have to, as your second step, you should only ever use cosine law once in a problem. You should never have to use it twice. Once you've used it once, you can switch to sine law, which is much easier to calculate, and find all the other information in the triangle. Question 4, for some reason, was left blank on this sheet that I have from you. I've drawn you the diagram, and I've set up the first line of the solution with the cosine law, and I'm going to let you finish that off in practice on that. and then you can use sine law, not sine, cos, or tan, but sine law to set up the information for the other two angles, okay? Sorry. Here's question 5. Exactly the same problem all over again, okay? The cosine law, if you're using the correct angles, would be right. The tangent ratio will only work for a right angle triangle. And see what I've done here in green, I've shown you that 85 is across from 28. 85 is the biggest angle. And then 49 is the medium angle, but it's across from the biggest side, and that can't be true. You can't do that. Here's question 6, and again, you've got 5 across from 79, and then you've got 6 meters across from 48. That's a bigger side across from a smaller angle, so it's breaking that law again. And here's the problem right here, is using the the tangent ratio, opposite over adjacent. You cannot use that unless you have a right angle. So you're going to have to set up a sine law with this one and figure out the other angle, and then of course you can subtract from 180 to find the third one, okay? So same problem each time, same mistake, and I want you to just go back and practice that and make sure that you understand the second and third steps in these problems to fill in those last two angles.